Election results are in. History was made and Colorado has a new governor. We have all of the highlights and results of the 2018 midterm elections.
Plus, culture is so important, especially at UNC. Coming up, we show you how the Mexican American Studies Society honored the dead in celebration of Dia de los Muertos. This is Bear News.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Franco.
And I'm Dalton Lanik in for Tanner Schwint this week.
Well, November 6th was Election Day, and UNC's University Center was a place where not only students, but people from around Greeley could come to vote. There were two ways people could vote. They could come in and vote in person at a voting site or fill out their mail ballot, bring it in, and drop it off. This year's ballot was a big one, but the state made sure we would all be informed on November 6th by sending out a book with different info about all of the amendments and propositions so you would know what you're saying yes or no to on that day. Now that the midterm elections are over, we have 2 years before the next one, but don't let the gap between elections stop you from being involved and informed about what's going on in your state. Colorado has a new Democratic governor, and Democrats swept most of the other races as well in the state. Chris Bolin is live in the studio as we start our complete coverage of Tuesday's election. Chris.
Colorado voters not only elected Democrat Jared Polis as the state next governor, they also elected Democrat Jena Griswold as Secretary of State, Dave Young as State Treasurer, and Phil Weiser as Attorney General. Polis easily defeated Republican Walker Stapleton by a 52 to 45% margin. Griswold took the Secretary of State race by 4 percentage points. Young won the Treasurer's race by a similar margin, and Weiser narrowly defeated Republican George Brockler by about 2% in congressional races. In congressional races, there was only one surprise. All incumbents who ran for re-election won, except for District 6 Representative Mike Kaufman, who lost to Democrat Jason Crow by 9%. Democrat Joe Neguse won the open seat in the 2nd Congressional District over Republican Peter Yu. That seat opened when incumbent Jared Polis didn't run for re-election, but ran for governor instead. In Weld County, incumbents successfully ran for re-election. Incumbent Republican Steve Moreno won another term as commissioner at large, easily defeating Democrat Carl B. Erickson. Johnstown Mayor Scott James won the District 2 commission race, beating Democrat Dwayne Lice by a 2-to-1 margin. Incumbent County Clerk Carly Koppis also won re-election for another 4 years. Deputy County Assessor Brenda A. Dones won the assessor's race, and Weld County Sheriff Steve Reams won another term. Both were unopposed. No surprises in local legislative races. Voters selected Democrat Rochelle Galindo in District 50, which encompasses most of Greeley. Unofficial results show Galindo ahead of Republican Michael Tiener by about 300 votes. Tiener led through Election Day and most of Wednesday, but Galindo took the lead Wednesday as election officials counted absentee and provisional ballots. In other races, both Republican state senators Jerry Sonnenberg and John Cook easily won re-election. Republican Stephen Allen Humphrey won the District House 48 seat, Perry Buck defeated Connor Duffy for the District 49 seat, and Lori Sane defeated Brandon Bobain in the House District 63.
Thanks, Chris. Weld voters also approved a series of housekeeping and language changes in the Weld County Charter. In Greeley, voters approved 2 measures extending current sales taxes through 2044.
Now let's take a look at that gaggle of statewide ballot measures on Tuesday's ballot. The measures that got the most publicity were Proposition 112 that would have required greatly increased setbacks for new oil and gas development, a measure that would have required the state to reimburse a private landowner whose property lost value because of state action, a couple of redistricting measures, and 3 tax measures. The big one was Proposition 112. That measure would have more than doubled the required setback for new oil and gas development and would have greatly expanded properties that would trigger the larger setback. Voters turned the measure down by a 57 to 43% margin. Amendment 74 would have made it a constitutional requirement that the state reimburse private landowners for lost value of their property that resulted from state action. Although polls suggested the amendment might pass and it started out ahead early in the evening, in the end, voters rejected the measure by a 54 to 46% margin. Turning to redistricting, Colorado voters enthusiastically approved 2 constitutional amendments that will require redistricting decisions for both congressional and state races to be made by a committee rather than the legislature. The companion measures also require that the redistricting plans be reviewed by the Colorado Supreme Court and mandate that they cannot be changed by legislative action once they are approved. Voters approved both amendments by nearly 3-to-1 majorities. And taking a look at tax and bonding measures, Colorado voters turned thumbs down on measures that would have required the state to issue bonds for road construction projects. would have raised the state's portion of the sales tax by about 0.6% to pay for road construction projects. Measure 109 to issue bonds lost 61 to 39%, while Measure 110 to raise the sales tax lost 60 to 40%. Voters also rejected a constitutional amendment that would have raised nearly $2 billion for state public education through a series of income and property tax changes. Amendment 73 went down to defeat 55 to 44%. In lesser-known measures, voters approved amendments to revamp the ballot language for judicial retention questions, approved a change in the definition of hemp, and an amendment that will outlaw slavery of any type in Colorado. They also approved a statutory provision that limits payday lenders from charging more than 36% interest on payday loans. But voters defeated amendments that would have lowered the required age to serve in the General Assembly from the current 25 to age 21. And they also rejected an amendment that would have increased the allowable contribution levels to other political candidates when one candidate contributes more than $1 million, I apologize, their own money to finance a campaign.
In an email blast to campus last Monday, Dean of Students Gardner Tucker updated the campus about the Sigma Chi situation. The international fraternity was suspended from UNC's campus for a minimum of 7 years after the fraternity violated university policy and code of conduct rules. Now, according to Gardner's email, they found the fraternity committed acts of sexual harassment, discrimination, sexual misconduct, use and possession of controlled substances, and underage drinking. In response to the investigation, UNC withdrew recognition of the fraternity. Now, the National Sigma Chi organization also withdrew support for the local chapter, which is one of 238 worldwide. The Dean of Students office first sent an email about the investigation in April. Sigma Chi's official website says the international fraternity hopes to return to campus by 2026.
Now let's get a first check of your weather forecast with meteorologist Stephanie Serino. Stephanie, this week we've seen a major cool down in temperatures. How's it looking out there right now?
Thank you. Currently in the area, we're seeing temperatures up to 39 degrees Fahrenheit and partly cloudy skies. Believe it or not, we're actually the warmest out of our neighbors, with 38 degrees in Fort Collins, 39 in Greeley, and 28 in the mountains and in the plains. If we take a look at our satellite, we actually see this huge blanket of clouds right over Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas. Believe it or not, that's actually fog also that was in the Greeley area this morning. Greeley's starting to clear out though. In Kansas, we're seeing a bit of precipitation, and if we actually take a look, that is snow. We're seeing pockets up to 3 inches of snow in the area, but Kansas is not the only place that's going to be getting snow. More on that coming up. Back to you.
Spring registration is already upon us, and UNC has just released a new self-service registration module. For spring 2019, there are 2 options to register: the existing URSA self-service registration module or the new module. Registration is officially open, and students who log into URSA will find that both modules are available under the Register for Classes selection. Students returning for the spring have the option to use the new or the old method. Using the old method should be painless for those who have done it before, but those who are using the new method, you may need some extra help. You can also watch an online video tutorial on YouTube breaking down the step-by-step of the new registration. You can just type UNC Banner 9 self-service registration in the search bar to find the tutorial. The Office of the Registrar also offers self-service registration help. Visit the registrar's website or give them a call for more information.
Coming up, we get a closer look at one of the most popular coffee shops in Greeley.
And Matt Jenkins joins us in the studio for his question of the week. This time he's talking all things music. Stay with us.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. I'll teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're they're blocked too.
We all know last week was Halloween and UNC celebrated it to the fullest. But last week also featured another event that didn't go unnoticed. And that was the Day of the Dead celebration. Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is celebrated every November 1st. This year, they held the event at the University Center's Panorama Room. Dia de los Muertos is a day to celebrate and remember those who have passed. The event included presentations from students as well as a performance by an Aztec dance group. Jonathan Alcantar, the Mexican American Studies Society advisor, said it was his 22nd consecutive year celebrated.
Well, today we're trying to commemorate another year of Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. This is a community celebration in which we honor our ancestors who already passed away. And it's also a great opportunity to connect with members of the community on campus and also outside campus, specifically here in the community of Greeley, Colorado.
They plan to hold the next Dia de los Muertos event in the UC Ballroom because they expect more guests. Another week has come and gone, and Tanner Schwinn caught up with another downtown business. Like so many others, this business relies heavily on UNC students. Tanner caught up with Ben Fusco of Zoe's Cafe.
Catching up with Ben Fusco, the director of Zoe's Cafe and Events. Ben, thanks for taking some time with us.
Thanks, Tanner.
Appreciate it. So it's no secret that college students love Zoe's, right? And they love the coffee, they love the atmosphere. But what exactly is it that drives college students to come down here?
I think probably our hours first. So we're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to midnight during the UNC semester. So we have a large amount of students that can come down and take advantage of that. Wi-Fi is pretty strong, coffee is really cheap, and there's a lot of space, so you can find a lot of time to do your studying and kind of figure out what you need to do from a student standpoint.
With those long hours, with those long hours, is it tough to keep staffed, or does UNC help solve that problem as well?
Yeah, so Zoe's Cafe is, the baristas are 100% volunteers. So actually, a lot of our students here at the university are our baristas, which is why we change hours when the students aren't here. So we are staffed completely from the bar standpoint from volunteers. They open, they close, they make the drinks, they have to go through a training. They get a few perks for being here. Free
what are those perks that they get?
Usually it's free drinks during their training sessions for the semester. They can get drinks for their friends while they're training, and then they get to get all the perks that all the other ones, but they don't have to pay for it. So it's a great trade-off. We've been doing it now since 2009, and every year we just get a few more students.
And so since 2009, have you seen Zoe's grow? And if so, what are the next steps that Zoe's is going to be taking?
So Zoe's has 3 different divisions. So we do catering, we do off-site and on-site events, and we cater for those. And then we actually also have a food truck that we've been pushing this last year. So nothing from a downtown standpoint. Every year we'll probably grow a little bit from a student standpoint, just because as the word spreads and we advertise and we kind of market in the community, then that advantage will be taken, I think. So we'll grow a little bit every year. But the other thing is, we'll probably be pushing the food truck a little further next year and kind of expanding the name of Everyone's Table, which is Zoe's Food Truck.
And what part of Zoe's is your favorite? I mean, do you like coordinating the events? I know you a little bit from the past, so I got to assume it's the food truck and the cooking part.
I think the favorite part of it is the flexibility of the schedule, how it changes. It's always changing. We're involved, a lot of times with athletics now with UNC football, doing a little bit of catering for them. We love the students that change every semester, so we get new faces and new energy, and I think that's the cool part. Zoe's is also kind of a daytime coffee shop, and then once it hits that 5 p.m. window and all those students are done with classes, it just changes into a different place. So it's a lot more energetic, and the evenings are kind of hopping. So I like the fluctuation of the energy at Zoe's.
Anything else that you want to say to the UNC students about Zoe's? Maybe somebody that hasn't been to Zoe's, and kind of describe what exactly it is like down here.
Yeah, I think if I were going to go to someone on campus and explain Zoe's, it's kind of like nobody knows the Cheers reference, but it's the place where you can go and you kind of feel a sense of connected community in a really open and vibrant space. Really good coffee, Wi-Fi. It's safe, it's warm, it's comfortable, and you'll feel connected, I think, here. We have students that have stayed with us until they graduate, and so they're here every year, every semester, and so that's the kind of family feel that we want to create and that they'll find here.
It's the director of Zoe's Cafe and Events, Ben Fusco. Thanks for taking some time.
Now, you've probably been to Zoe's and likely will continue to go for the great drinks and the relaxing environment.
Every day we're surrounded by music, at a local coffee shop, grocery store, or if you're even in your car or just want to turn on some jams. There are so many different genres of music. Bear News reporter Matt Jenkins is in the studio with our question of the week.
Almost every person I see walking around campus is listening to some type of jam. You see it in the library, the gym, the dining halls, sometimes even in class. They do it just listening to music. It got me wondering about the types of music students on campus listen to. So I went to go find out. Do you normally walk through campus listening to music? And if so, what type of music do you normally listen to?
Yeah, usually. I usually switch it up. So like every other day, I'll probably listen to some good like gospel, Christian music, get me in a good mood. And there are times I'll listen to some good hard hip hop, some trap music, and just get really in the mood to do some stuff. It all just depends on the mood I'm feeling that day.
I normally listen to country music.
I do. I normally listen to country like Johnny Cash or movie soundtracks.
I'm usually with people when I'm walking on campus, so I usually just talk to them. I'm not listening to music.
I absolutely do, and I listen to hip-hop.
I listen to hip-hop.
Yeah, I listen to music on our campus. Have these babies right here. I'd probably say I just have a big old playlist. It has a bunch of house music on it, EDM. Then you got some Lil Pump on there, got some Eminem, got some MGK. But I'd say majority of it goes from like rap to like electronic music.
I actually don't listen to music on campus just because I want to be aware of my surroundings.
Yeah, I listen to Christmas music.
Well, now we know students on campus listen to all different types of music. No real surprise there. So keep on jamming. Maybe even play some of your favorite songs on repeat for the day. Dalton, back to you.
Thanks, Matt. I've always wondered what students were listening to when they're walking through campus or studying, and I might also have to check some of that out for myself. After the break, Stephanie will have your full weather forecast and let us know if this chilly weather is going to stick around and when we might expect the next snow. We'll be right back.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Stephanie Serino. Taking a look behind us, we have this beautiful image sent in by Chris Tomer of the fog that we had in Denver this morning. On Friday, we can expect temperatures to reach 44 degrees with sunny conditions. The day's going to start off at 24 degrees and steadily build its way up by noon to 38 degrees. There we go. Now, if we take a look at what's going on with the fronts, we see that there is a low stationed right above Colorado with a cold front trailing behind that's going to bring in on Friday morning colder conditions. And then on Saturday morning, snow in Montana and Idaho could be making its way down to Colorado, which might be bringing some snow associated with this low dipping down. And then if we take a look at our week ahead, we see that Saturday, we're going to be at a nice 53 degrees, but let's not get too comfortable because on Sunday we have 30% chance of snow at 35 degrees. But that's okay because Tuesday and onward, we're seeing nice 50 degrees temperatures with sunny skies. Stay tuned after this break for more.
Thanks, Stephanie. Well, women's basketball is back at UNC. The Bears looked good this past week during an exhibition game against South Dakota School of Mines.
And the UNC football team's winning streak was short-lived. They suffered a tough loss last week at the hands of nationally ranked team. Ben Shumate has all of the highlights coming up in sports.
All right, give me a spot. You know my motto, safety first.
They could be dangerous. I think we should call animal control.
Animal control?
To be safe.
Don't worry. I got this. It's a new motto.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
There's
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
The UNC volleyball team entered the weekend on a 3-game winning streak, but took a tough loss against Weber State in 5 sets and Idaho State in 4 sets. But as Bear News reporter Trevor Sherman tells us, the Bears still have a chance for a high seed in the Big Sky tournament with the games they have left.
This season hasn't gone exactly as planned for UNC. The Bears can't secure the #1 overall seed in the Big Sky tournament, but that's fine. UNC has had success before as lower seeds, winning only one of their Big Sky titles as the #1 overall seed. And the best news of all for the Bears, the tournament's at home.
I mean, it's a team I hope we match up with in the tournament. We know them well. I think we match up well. And the reason I want to face them is we got to respond differently. That's a very good team, but I want to see if we can continue to make progress. So I think we made some steps from the first time we played them. And then, you know, the biggest lesson we got to take away is that we were too hesitant. There's hesitant swings, there's hesitant serving, there's hesitant decision making. In scramble plays, we're looking at somebody else to make the play. We've got to be more assertive and decisive in those key situations.
Despite the tough weekend, the Bears know what they need to work on going into the Big Sky tournament.
I think focusing on our side of the net, being balanced as an offense, all 5 hitters being balanced, and then just going out and attacking.
For Bear News, I'm Trevor Sherman.
The Bears play 3 of their final 4 games on the road, but return to the Bank of Colorado Arena next Thursday to play an important game against Portland State. The UNC women's basketball team returned to the court Friday night for an exhibition game against South Dakota School of Mines. UNC put up points in bunches, but as Bear News reporter, you guessed it, Trevor Sherman tells us, the most important thing about the Bears was their defense.
Despite the tough loss to CU last night, the Bears can walk away with their heads held high moving forward.
I thought we competed. We absolutely competed. We said, you know, possession by possession, this is what we want to do, and I think we did that all game long. Well, I think it's a long season, and I think you can always learn from every single game, win or lose. So I told them, you know, we've got to go back and watch some film and just say, okay, what could we take away? I think execution, you know, it was a 4-point game with 4 minutes to go. I think we've got to be able to execute defensively and offensively in those situations, but certainly a stepping stone for going into LSU. You know, there's a lot to learn. I'm really super proud of our team tonight, and I think we can, you know, go and take steps forward.
Savannah Smith had 32 points and tied the UNC record with 8 threes.
You know, Savvy's a great basketball player and a great competitor, and so you just saw that in her. It was nothing we did or said. I think she knows how to get herself going. She's a veteran. We made some play calls for her, and she just took it to another level, and she played like an elite level guard tonight, and that was very evident.
Yeah, I just felt like I had to get my team going, provide a little spark, even though I was in there in the first quarter. But yeah, I think just we played off each other's energy really well in the second quarter, better than the first quarter, which I think helped a lot. Yeah, I think we had some good plays from the players coming off the bench. They did really well coming in and stepping up for those players that were in foul trouble, and I think they did a good job with that, and the whole team just adjusted really well to not having some of our starters on the floor.
For Bear News, I'm Trevor Sherman.
The Bears' regular season kicks off next Friday against Colorado College at 7 p.m. in the Bank of Colorado Arena. And they missed it by that much. They could almost taste the win, but it was just out of reach once again for the University of Northern Colorado soccer team as they fell 1-0 to Montana in the Big Sky Championship game. This was the Bears' 3rd Big Sky Championship game in 4 years, with just one NCAA tournament appearance to show for it. Alexis Coyle scored the game's only goal in the 57th minute as the Grizzlies held the Bears scoreless for the first time since October the 12th. UNC went into the title game especially hot, scoring 6 goals in the first 2 tournament games. The Bears now have to look to next season without forward Mariel Gutierrez, who will graduate as one of the best players in program history. She led the Big Sky with 10 goals this season and was the only unanimous selection to the Big Sky Conference team. And it wasn't one for the ages at Nottingham Field on Saturday, and with what was on display in the University of Northern Colorado football team's 48-13 loss to Eastern Washington, it may not even have been suitable for all ages. The fourth-ranked Eagles overpowered UNC from the beginning, jumping out to a 13-0 lead before the Bears knew what hit them. They extended that lead to 20 just before halftime, thanks to 324 first-half yards. Troy Reek finally got UNC on the board early in the third quarter with a 1-yard touchdown run. Milo Hill scored UNC's other touchdown, a 16-yard pass from Connor Regan with under a minute left in the third. Regan replaced Keaton Mott, who left just before halftime with a hand injury. With the Bears' loss, they're now at 2-8 on the season. UNC looks to finish the season on a high note against Montana State Saturday, 2 p.m. in Bozeman, Montana. The Colorado Avalanche suffered a tough loss last Friday in Vancouver as the Canucks and Avs went back and forth all the way through. After 4 goals from the Avs in the second, the two went into the third period tied at 4. With less than 2 minutes left in the game, Nathan MacKinnon scored his second goal of the game, giving the Avs a 6-5 lead. With less than a minute left in the game, the Avs gave up that lead, and the Canucks tied it up, sending the game into overtime. The Canucks scored into the overtime period, giving the Avs their third straight loss. With any luck, the 4 days off this week helped the Avs prepare for the strong Nashville Predators. The Avs and Preds faced off last night. It was a rough night for the Avs as none of their stars could get going. The Predators routed the Avs 4-1. Colton Sissons for the Predators gave them a huge boost on the road, put 3 goals in the back of the net. Although the Avs haven't played well as a team, the first line of Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, and Mikko Rantanen still is the NHL's best. Gabriel Landeskog and Nathan MacKinnon are tied for second in the league with 11 goals. Mikko Rantanen leads the NHL in offensive points with 24 on the season so far. Right behind him is none other than Nathan MacKinnon with 22 offensive points. Up next, the Avs travel to Winnipeg to face off against the Jets tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And my pursuit to discover just how hard some sports can be is leading me to new and exciting experiences. And this week is no different. Electronic sports, or video games as you may know them better, have become a worldwide phenomenon that has grown to have its events sell out full-size sporting arenas. The participants of this sport are a new wave of athletes that are changing the landscape of sports one click at a time. And yes, these people are athletes. Tyler Blevins, or as he is better known, Ninja, is the first esports player to be ESPN Magazine's cover athlete. Esports is even being considered as an addition to the Olympics in coming years. The University of Northern Colorado has an esports team, and don't feel surprised if you didn't know that. Not many people do. The team meets in a hard-to-find computer lab wedged in Butler Hancock and practices late at night twice a week. The practices look quite different than what people have come to expect from a sport, but don't be mistaken. This time is taken very seriously and is full of strategy. This is what players say makes esports a sport, just maybe not in the same way as others.
Esports, obviously not physically intensive. It's a lot more like mentally challenging because you're playing competitive matches instead of like for, let's say, an hour or 2 hours like you would in like hockey. You're playing it for 2 to 3 hours and you're using your brain to kind of make tough decisions the whole time.
Like esports, I would compare to games like chess, like competitive chess and stuff.
And where there is seriousness and strategy, you can rest assured that I will be there to ruin it. I mean, come on guys, it's video games. How hard can it be? Well, the first thing I was told is that I would be confused the whole time and have no idea what was going on, so a vote of confidence was not extended to me. The game we played was called League of Legends, and is basically a 30-minute combination of chess and capture the flag, where you play with 4 teammates and 5 enemies found somewhere on the internet. I don't really know how that works. Each player has a role. I was told my character's role was to go with another player to be their protector, which was a mistake. If you die in the game, you can respawn back to where you started. I did this an alarming number of times. League of Legends is a team sport, so when our team lost in a manner which was undoubtedly my fault, my teammates were quick to make me share the blame with them and not take it all on myself. I sense that was mostly my fault.
No, you're good, dog.
It's a team game.
I was warned of a steep learning curve, especially with this game that I had never played. Thankfully, the rest of the players have a lot more experience than I do.
And a guy came up to me and said, "Hey, do you play League of Legends? Like, I saw your shirt." And I was like, "Heck yeah!" So we met up and we hung out for like a week, and then we decided to start a club.
So to answer my question, esports can be very hard, and the next time you say it isn't a sport just because it's video games, I challenge you to meet these players on their turf. You may end up dying many times over. Well, digitally at least. Reporting from Butler Hancock, I'm Ben Shoemate, Bear News. Now, it's really difficult to go out and support the team as all their tournaments are held online, but the next one is this weekend, and I'm sure they'd love that support if you can come out and cheer them on, whatever that looks like. Again, a huge thanks to the esports team for letting me join for a day and not getting too upset for costing you guys a win. And if you guys have any ideas for sports I should try, let me know. I love to hear the feedback.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to seeing what you have coming up in the future.
Oh, I am too.
I feel
I don't know
that.
what it is, but-
Feel that for sure. I'm excited.
All right, remember, Bear News is your on-campus source for all things UNC.
Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week.